Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is Taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
Welcome to I Don't Need an Acting Class with Milton Justice.
All right, a reminder. You have to, for a long period of time, specifically decide to use the technique things that you know when you're working. In other words, you really have to specifically say, all right, I'm building a past here. I need to be specific. You really do, for a long time in work, have to really point out to yourself exactly, specifically, the technique, tools that you're using. Because otherwise, what you'll keep doing is just throwing it out there, hoping it lands. It doesn't work just because you did it right once in class. You really have to think about it and say, okay, this is something that we've worked on in class. I need to get more specific. I need to have images. I need to decide what it is that I'm doing, talk it out, and then debrief, if you will, afterwards, what I think I accomplished. And it's an important thing to do, because otherwise, this very, very bad habit we have of thinking impulsively that we can just throw it out there and it will land, will continue. And so you lose the tools, really. You lose the craft because you're not exercising the craft. Eventually it becomes normal. If you don't every single time say to yourself, I should probably try something else. I should probably go a little bit deeper. I should keep that up. Otherwise, we still approach every exercise not as if it is an accumulation of a lifetime of knowledge, but as if it's isolated someplace and not something that we're adding to knowledge we already have. But you have to keep reminding yourself of it. Okay, case in point, and oddly enough, what was the email you sent me, Kareem? What did it say?
My question to you was, in acting, is it a means to an endless end?
Now, here is, and Walker was the perfect example of that this week. Here is where we keep digging. And if you can stop yourself from ever thinking you got it right, I said to Walker, just keep in mind, you're never going to make me happy. So you might as well go into it with that in mind, that there's always going to be something. But what you want to be able to do is to do the exercise and then ask yourself the question. Yes, incidentally, Kareem, it is endless. What technique can I add to this? What can I add to this? Okay, so Walker, a couple of days ago, sent me a small film of I Love Radio. Now, here's where we're digging, and here's where we want to keep going. We want to actively pursue getting beyond just being believable. So there's a point in our work where, especially with this particular exercise, where we say, I am believable, I believe you. I believe you love radio. The next stage of this, which is what I talked to him about when we spoke afterwards, is digging deeper into something that we have talked about. And that's what made me think of we have to actively work with the tools that we're learning. And my suggestion to him was try thinking of radio as an idea, or perhaps as a part of history. Because we're always wanting to turn the dial slightly. We want to move it out of simply being functional and merely accurate into something that is extraordinary. So digging in on that level then moves us slightly. So with Walker, we talked about the fact that just the history of radio. And there was a time that's all anybody had. People didn't have televisions. There was an entire war where the only thing they ever had was radio. Radio became this vital, important part of their lives. The president spoke to the country once a week over the radio. And all of these people in this country, in the middle of a war, could feel the connection with the President of the United States. There's a wonderful moment in in Downton Abbey where I get so many things in my life where they got a radio in Downton, and of course Maggie Smith was appalled at having such a thing in the house, but they were having the King's Christmas Day speech over the radio for the first time in history. People could actually hear the King. And it was a wonderful moment because they were all sitting around, in the house when suddenly the King came over with his Christmas message, and Maggie Smith stood up. And the family stood up to listen to the King over the radio. But okay, so now you begin to say, all right, now I'm getting a sense of radio. So it helps me because what Walker was building, because they interviewed him on the... Of course, his father was having surgery, so it was very, very serious, and it was very, very tense. However, they wanted to interview Walker on the radio in the Hamptons, so naturally he took time off from the hospital to be interviewed, at the end of which they offered him a job. And Walker, for a long time, was a radio interviewer. He was quite good. I used to listen to him over years where we didn't see each other, and I periodically would listen to Walker interview celebrities. But so he sent a thing to me about I Love Radio. And so, again, this was the issue. I believed it. It was connected. It was even enthusiastic. But we have to dig more now. We have to keep digging more. We have to find something more. We need to move things. It's like, okay, our first steps of our work as actors was to connect. And that was a big thing, by the way. You have no idea. Most actors don't connect. Really, seriously, there aren't that many good actors. Most actors approximate an emotion. Most actors play something the way they think it should be played. Most actors, and so the idea of connecting is out of the question. So on the fundamental level of our work, on our kind of like the beginning of the semester work, all we simply wanted to do was to say, I can believe this much today. I can believe that I love radio. I can believe that I hate an ocean cruise. I can believe any of it. But now we have to begin to go even deeper, because it's like we have now taken care of our early work. And now when you say, I love radio, I need the sense of the history of the radio. I need the sense of that understanding that there was a moment when the people of England for the very first time were able to hear their king on Christmas Day. And nobody knew what was happening, but once a week, the president. So in other words, you have that when you talk about, I love the radio. So do you all see, in other words, we're moving our work incrementally to the point where when we're doing a play, we are no longer accurate. We are no longer functional. We are part of something that people look and understand, a big idea of being a human being. I mean, really keep in mind, everyday life is a bore. I mean, it's really a bore. When you go to the theater, it's not a bore. When you go to the theater, something happens to you. You come to life in really good theater. And so that's it's just the next thing that I want us to get to. I want us to get to really beginning to understand that my little life is insignificant compared to human beings. And what I'm playing on stage is a human being. And that's what people respond to. So in answer to both your questions, you'll never get it right. And you'll never make me happy. So it's like you always need to dig. But I mean, that's the reason you can work on these things forever. And they become more and more and more fascinating. It is like in one of the first classes I took with Stella. And Stella said, I'm interested in training an actor who is willing to take on his shoulders 4,000 years of actors that went before him. You know, that's monumental. You know, you're not a guy getting a job. You're an actor.
I Don't Need an Acting Class is hosted and created by Milton Justice. Senior producer is me, Walker Vreeland, and director of online media is Evan Sollers. Music by Jeffrey Keyser Trio, May This Be Love, from their album On My Way to You. If you have a moment, please rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find us. And if you would like to send an email, if you have a question for Milton, you can do so at questionsformilton@gmail.com. Another way to get in touch is on Instagram at I Don't Need an Acting Class. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you back here next week.